Hello everyone, today is 8th of February. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Guys, first of all, let's have a look on today's GS folder. So guys, today we will be taking a quote from Muhammad Yunus, who happens to be a Bangladeshi social entrepreneur, and he is also the person who had propounded the idea of the microfinance and microcredit for the poor people. He says a charity dollar has only one life. A social business dollar can be invested over and over again. Now, guys, see, it is always said that if you truly wants to help a person, give them a hand rather than lending them a dole. Now, what do we mean by this hand and a dole? Let's see this particular thing. See, there is one particular person, and you are regularly giving him some charity, you are giving him some money directly. What he will happen? His poverty will be little bit removed, but in for his entire life he will be dependent on you for perpetuity. However, giving him a dole, you rather than giving him some money, teach him a skill, teach him a vocation, and into that particular capacity, this particular person will not be dependent on you. Rather, he will become a self sustaining individual. Now, guys, into the same capacity, it is said that a charity dollar, where you are directly helping the people by the money, it has only one life. For one particular period, only it can give the respite. However, the social business dollar means that helping the people in developing some vocation, helping the people that they can start their business, for example by giving the microcredit. A person is being given an opportunity that he can start his own venture. Now guys, as he will be developing his own venture, in mean course of time he himself will be able to eradicate the poverty. However, at the end of the day, even the money which was given a credit will come back, and the same money can be used to help the other people. So therefore, government needs always to be driven by the social business dollar approach rather than a charity dollar business approach. Now guys, into the context of India, government has recently started the PM Swanidhi scheme, which was started into the aftermath of pandemic. Now under this particular scheme, 10,000 rupees were given for the working capital to the vendors and all of them. So that was also a social business approach. So this is the guys idea. You can utilize it in GS paper number 3. So that is all, and now let's take the newspaper analysis. Now, guys, taking up the first article. So, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see that a huge destruction has been carried in Uttarakhand after a glacial burst occurred. Guys, this particular topic will be important for your GS paper number 1 under the topic of geological events. Now, guys, even till this point, it has not been ascertained that how many people have been died because the rescue operations are still underway. Now, guys, just seeing it from our general studies point of view, first of all, let's identify the origin of this particular catastrophe. Now, guys, number one, this destruction, it began near the Rani village, which is into the Uttarakhand. So, guys, you might have heard about the Nanda Devi. So, into the vicinity of the Nanda Devi, there are very big glaciers. So, around the Nanda Devi, a part of a glacier, it broke down and it fell into the Dholi Ganga. Now, because of this particular thing, there was a huge surge into the water. There was huge waves which was created, and by that particular thing, the downstream river was completely washed away. Now, guys, you can see the trail here. First of all, the glacier burst at this particular point and it falls into the river. Then, guys, the Dholi Ganga, into which the quantity of the water, the waves, it has increased. It reaches up to the Vishnu Prayag, and a huge destruction is carried. And after that, guys, as this particular water flows onto the course, different prayags such as the Dev Prayag, Rudra Prayag, Karan Prayag, and various hydel projects, they have been bursted. Now, guys, you don't need to see the entire trail of this particular thing because that is not important for UPSC. Rather, you need to go into more of an analytical part. Now, guys, as this particular destruction has been carried, there have been two dams which have been completely destroyed. One is the Rishi Ganga Hydel project, which is a 13.2 megawatt project. It is relatively a small project. It is onto the Rishi Ganga. It has been destroyed, and a bigger project, that is the Tapovan project, onto the Dholi Ganga, which is more than 520 megawatt. It has also been completely destroyed. Now, guys, when we talk about the destruction which started at the Rani village, one more important thing you need to keep it in mind, that it is the cradle of the Chipko movement, which started into the 1970s, where the people were protesting against the cutting of the trees. And guys, since then, the Rani village has been onto the forefront of the ecological destruction that is being carried into the Uttarakhand, and over they had warned about the ecological catastrophe which can develop. And guys, the same thing. For example, you can see that in 1991 there was an Uttarkashi earthquake, and this particular earthquake was facilitated due to the ecological stress that was created by the developmental activities. Guys, into the similar way, in 1999 there was the Chamoli earthquake, and these earthquakes were majorly reservoir-induced earthquake. When the dam is constructed, huge water is stored into the reservoir. It creates a seismic pressure, and because of that seismic pressure, earthquakes, landslips, etc. happened. Guys, when we talk about Uttarakhand particularly, the most of the region lies in the zone 4 to zone 5 with respect to the earthquake vulnerability, and this vulnerability enhances with more and more developmental activities. Now, friends, when we talk about this particular incident which had happened recently, there are certain causes into this particular direction. Number one, it has been said that into the winters of 2020, there has been less snowfall. Now, enhanced snowfall is important because in glaciers, over and over period of time, there are the cracks and structural deficits which occurred, and the snowfall can basically plug these gaps and these cracks. And because of the snowfall, this particular problems were not rectified. After that, it has been said that into the Uttarakhand there is the heat island effect which is being seen. Now, what happens into the construction? Large amount of reinforced concrete is being used. Now, the reinforced concrete, or concrete in simple terms, has a capacity that it heats up very fastly, and when it heats up, it creates a kind of an heat island effect by which the glacial ice melts down, and such kind of breaking down of glacier happens. After that, guys, into the Uttarakhand, over and over period of time, it has been said that we need to install an early warning system with respect to the glacial health. Now, see, the high reaches of the Uttarakhand, they are closed from the month of September up till the month of the late February, and into this particular time, whatever is happening, that cannot be seen. So, therefore, the technology assisted early warning system are there. Now, guys, in 2000, into the aftermath of 2004 tsunami, such kind of thing had happened for the coastal region, but nothing had happened into the terms of the Himalayas. So this is the entire issue into this particular direction. Now, friends, over the days there will be large number of editorials also which will be published onto the same topic. See, you don't need to go into the every article that will be published, because at the end of the day you only need 200 or 250 words maximum to write any kind of answer. So 3 4 more viewpoints we will be seeing over the period of days, and then we will be calling a day for this particular topic. So that is all, and now we'll be moving to the next topic. Now, friends, this particular article has been taken from the Mint newspaper, and this article can be utilized for our GS paper number 3 into the topics of the banking reforms. Now, guys, here we can see that the Reserve Bank of India had just now initiated the Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. Now, what this particular issue is right now, guys, when we talk about the financial sector, there are the different institutions. For example, there are full-fledged banks and non-banking financial companies. Then there are digital wallets such as the Paytm, PhonePe, etc. And there is also the UPI payment interface. Now, basically, these particular sectors are dealt by three different kind of ombudsman. Ombudsman is a kind of an institution where you file a complaint if you are facing some kind of grievance, if you are facing some kind of problem. Now, guys, these three ombudsmen often makes up the situation complicated, because a person is not knowing that for one particular domain where he has to approach, and this particular thing erodes consumers confidence into the digital financial tools. Now, see, if you were transferring some money via the UPI, and that particular money has been deducted from your bank account and has not reflected into the other accounts, you are having a kind of a confusion that whether you should approach the bank, you should approach the basically application. For example, if you transferred money via the phone pay, you should approach them, or you should approach some other body. So this particular thing, guys, creates a kind of a feeling that people are not 100% confident over the digital payment tools. So therefore, in order to enhance the grievance redressal mechanism, the Reserve Bank of India had said that these three ombudsmen will be combined and one integrated ombudsman scheme will be established, and it is into the line of one nation, one ombudsman that the Reserve Bank of India is going to take forward. Now, guys, into this particular article, there are some ready-made points which you can utilize it into your answer. Now, first of all, it has been said that the integration of the ombudsman is a much needed step, as it will reduce the hassle of the customers. And then further, guys, it has been provided that the integration will help in streamlining the processes. There will be better coordination among the various entities and quicker resolution of the complaints. Moreover, it will also lead to optimal utilization of manpower, quicker decision making, leading to earlier resolution of complaints. Now see, when we talk about these guys three ombudsmen which I am talking, the most important one here is the banking ombudsman, which was created by the RBI under the banking ombudsman scheme of 2006, and over period many other ombudsmen were also established. Now, friends, according to the Reserve Bank of India's Banking Ombudsman Annual Report of 2019, it has been seen that over years, the complaints towards the different financial services has been enhanced. It means that the customers are becoming more frustrated, and in that particular case, if there will be no effective grievance redressal mechanism, it will be leading to many of the problems. So, such kind of thing will now be solved. So, guys, please utilize it into your answers with respect to GS paper number 3. And now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Business Standard, and you can utilize it in GS paper number 4 into the topics of the work culture, which has been mentioned into the topic number 7. Now, guys, when we talk about the work culture of any organization, it includes, first of all, the set of values that are governing the relation between the different people, the superiors, the subordinate, etc. Number two, it also includes the interpersonal relation that are there. C, it includes the physical setting of this particular space. Now, the work culture is always aimed at enhancing the physical and mental well-being of the personals who are involved into an organization. Now, see, guys, as the pandemic of COVID-19 came, we have seen that the work culture's definition has been now changed. Now, what had happened? The work from home phenomena became so much important that a new hybrid work culture has come, where you are fulfilling your official responsibilities, but at the same time you are sitting into your home. Now, guys, such kind of new hybrid work culture has led to its own problem also. See, when the people were going to a physical workspace, there they were interacting with the people, it was fulfilling the role of the socialization, and basically the clear work boundaries were defined, and therefore the people were able to do justice with their personal responsibilities as well as the professional responsibilities. But now this particular gap has become blurred due to the pandemic of COVID-19, and therefore the mental and health being of the people have also been enhanced. Now people are complaining that they are going with the depression, anxiety, and all such kind of things. So therefore, into this particular direction, guys, we can take a case study of the Amazon. Now Amazon had started an initiative, that is the Swasthya initiative. Under this particular initiative, Amazon is providing the virtual assistance to their employees when they are home, so that they can experience a better work culture even into this hybrid work culture setting. So now, guys, under this Swasthya initiative, now the Amazon is spending money onto the virtual wellness program, onto the mental well-being program, meditation, yoga, fitness, and other experiential sessions. And this particular thing will be help in promoting the overall well-being. Now, not only these initiatives are available to the employees, but are also available to the other family members of the employees. Now see, over the period of time, guys, these big tech enterprises such as Amazon, etc., they have been categorized to promote a new kind of work culture where the employees are at the core of their heart, and same thing can now be seen into this particular thing also. Now see, when we talk about the bureaucracy, it is characterized by poor motivation, poor performing morale, etc. There is one reason, that their work culture has always been so bad that such kind of values of avoiding the thing, procrastination, are bred there. So therefore, the bureaucracy also today needs a overhaul into the work culture, and the bureaucracy can learn many things from the big tech as how they are keeping their personal motivated. So guys, such of the things are there. However, when we talking about this Amazon case study, guys, apart from the work culture, there are other things also, that the Amazon is also working for the women empowerment. So what Amazon has done, Amazon has scaled up many of the initiatives which aims at bringing the diversity, equity, and inclusion into their workforce. It basically includes one of initiative where women operative and owned delivery stations are being developed. As well as, guys, Amazon had also declared that they will be spending $1 billion only to bring the 10 million traders into the MSME, micro, small, and medium enterprises onto the online business. So these are kind of some of the initiatives which are being taken up, and guys, it can also be quoted as a good example as how these corporates are helping to enhance the sustainability of the community. Now, guys, there is a specific corporate social responsibility that is provided under the Companies Act. However, apart from the monetary expenditure that has to be done, there are some other responsibilities also which are not written anywhere, and into that capacity, enhancing the sustainability comes. So this particular thing can also be shown by this example. So guys, that is all about this article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. No, friends, this particular article can be used as a case study into the GS paper number 2 social justice related answers. Here we can see that the Rajasthan Skill and Livelihood Development Corporation is taking up an initiative to enhance the vocational skills among the beggar community. No, friends, before going into this particular article, there is some of the background that you need to see. Recently, the Rajasthan government has decided to become the beggar free state, and therefore, the rehabilitation of the beggar destitutes is the prime agenda that the government is taking up. So, into this particular capacity, guys, first of all, as a part of the phase number 1, at least 40 beggars have been identified who are hailing from the different state governments. They came to the Jaipur for the livelihood, but either due to non availability of work or due to non availability of skill, they ended up in onto the footpaths, and now they are begging. So they have been identified, they have been provided with the shelter. There they are learning yoga, meditation, sports, and other computer operations so that they can find a dignified livelihood. Over the period, many other such beggars will also be identified, and they will be provided with the skills so that they can work into the catering occupation or into the occupation such as being electrician, plumber, guard, or the beauticians. Now, friends, this could be a very good example where government is first of all using the human resource as a demographic dividend. Secondly, it will also be helping the Rajasthan to fulfill many of the obligations taken under the directive principle of state policy. First, particularly the directives such as providing a living wage, the directives such as providing the assistance to the needy people, particularly provided into the article number 41 of the constitution, and all such kind of things. So guys, that is all about here, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about a recent development that is happening where the India as well as European Union, they have decided that they will be starting the negotiations over the India European Union bilateral trade and investment agreement. Now, see, this is a good thing which had happened just a couple of days back. Now, when we talk about the India EU BTIA, it first of all started in 2007, but it got suspended in 2014 because there were many of the differences between the India and the European Union. And the major differences were number one, with respect to the movement of the professional as well as laborers throughout the European Union. India wanted that there should be the free movement. India was thinking that the European Union and all these countries will be a hub for exporting the Indian labor. However, there were many of the issues there. Then, with respect to the human rights, guys, there have been many of instances where the European Union has accused India that India's policy don't give enough of respect to the human rights. Number one, there is the kind of a difference of opinion with respect to the capital punishment. You might be knowing that countries in the European Union, they had abolished the capital punishment, but India is still keeping it. Secondly, guys, on many of the episodic events also there have been the disputes. Then there are the high tariffs which India imposes on the import of European wines, spirits, and many of such kind of things. And these high tariffs India wanted to keep even after the bilateral trade and investment agreement has been signed. And then there was the tax treatment that India follows. It has been said that India's tax policies, it has been highly erratic, and many a times India uses the tax as a vehicle to penalize the companies. So because of these particular differences, this negotiation it stopped in 2014, and now again in 2021 we are deciding that okay, let's start this particular negotiation. No, guys, it has been said that the resumption of this negotiation is a good thing, because if we talk about the European Union, then guys, before the pandemic of COVID-19 and before the Brexit, the size of European economy was equal to the USA's economy. Now it will little bit be shrinking, but still it there is the huge potential by this particular trade agreement. Moreover, guys, when we talk about the Europe, with Europe there are other converging grounds also that India is having. Number one, the countries of European Union, they are the democracies, and India is also a democracy, so a political affinity is there. Number two, the guys, India is a cradle of many of the cultural civilizations, and same multi ethnicities there into the European Union. So here a converging ground comes. But it has been provided into this particular article that rather than all these good things, the trade pact might still be very difficult to be achieved. Why? Because there are many problems that right now the European Union is facing. Let's see the majority of the big problems. Now, number one, on to the international relations, how European Union as a bloc should have relation with many of the other countries. It is a kind of a dispute that is going on. There are the different opinions. For example, when we talk about the China, guys, into the recent times it has been said that a decoupling from the China is going on. Now the European Union wants to make a kind of an independent, self-reliant kind of economical base. this, and they want to detach from China. But there are some other countries which wants a close integration with the China. Then guys, what needs to be the treatment with the Russia, even after into the aftermath of the treatment that Russia had shown towards the Ukraine? Then guys, with the Iran and Turkey, what type of relation is to be kept? You might be knowing that guys, Iran as well as Turkey, now they are coming out as a leader for the Islamist forces into the European Union. And particularly guys, the Turkey has accused the France that it is being driven by the Islamophobia, and therefore many a times France's policy are such that they are discriminatory towards the Islamic people. So Turkey is openly accusing the France. And onto the similar fronts guys, there are other issues also. For example, now the nuclear deal with the Iran is to be negotiated. So what needs to be the new line for that negotiation also, it is to be settled. Now there are the different opinions in all the countries, and therefore on all these international factors the countries are divided. And when the division is there guys, there will also be an implication that will be coming on to the India European bilateral trade investment agreement, because in order to sign this particular agreement, the consensus of all the member countries are needed. Everyone is having a veto power. So even if one country will not be agreeing, then that particular deal cannot happen. And guys, if more the differences, more of a possibility is there that the veto might be given by any one or the other country. After that, right now, the European Union is also characterized by a very weak integration on many of the domestic issues also. For example, guys, as the COVID-19 was going on, there was the different interpretations with respect to the COVID-19 package, the amount of COVID-19 package, the money which will be given, how they can spend it, how what will be the obligation of the different countries. Guys, there is a division between the north and the south with respect to the different interpretations of these COVID-19 package. Now guys, ultimately the package has been taken up, but still the disputes are there. After that guys, now into the European Union, a kind of a Euroscepticism is going on. Particularly the countries such as Germany and Netherlands, onto the lines of the Britain, they want that the European Union as a whole has not given much of the benefits to them, and therefore they are moving to have a kind of an alternative narrative. And into that capacity, any of the treaty which is taking the European Union as a whole, as a singular entity, they will not be favoring that particular thing. And this Euroscepticism is not only into the Germany and Netherlands, but other countries are also facing it. And guys, after the coming of the Trump, even new uncertainty has come into the Europe vis-a-vis the relation of the Europe as well as with the USA. So guys, it has been said that right now the times are such that there is a huge certainty, and into this particular time, whether the India EU pact will be signed or not, it is a huge uncertainty. So guys, that is all the major aspects of this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, friends, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the internet shutdown as it is an abuse of the fundamental rights. Now, first of all, guys, in 2020, specifically, the Supreme Court has provided that right to internet is also one of the fundamental right. And into this particular capacity, again and again, suspension of the internet has been called as the violation of the fundamental right. Now, guys, again, the spate of curbing the internet came into the aftermath of the farm agitation that is going into the Delhi, and particularly after the incident of the 26th of January, many of the internet services has been impacted into the Delhi and NCR. Now, this particular thing is, guys, it is said that it is leading to many of the cost. And according to some of the estimates, it has been said that in 2020, due to the internet shutdowns, India's economy was suffered up to the tune of 20,000 crore rupees. Now, guys, recently we have also restored the 4G internet connectivity into the parts of the Jammu and Kashmir, and this particular thing had happened after the 223 days. And it has been said that by this, India had made one more record, that this is the longest time for which internet was shut down into one particular region. Now, this particular thing has again been called as the gross violation of the fundamental right. Now, it is further being said that not only it is a violation of the fundamental rights, but guys, at the same time, it also breeds inequality amongst the people. Now, how inequality comes? See, guys, right now we are into the middle of the COVID-19, and here the social distancing has to be carried. So, therefore, the digital tools play a very important role. Now, guys, there are some people who simply cannot use these digital tools because they are not having the internet connectivity. So, the two classes are created, that is, the ones have and others are have not. The haves are ones who are having the internet. Particularly, guys, if you see into the white collar jobs, now work from home has become a new normal, and under this work from home, the employees are being asked to work via the internet. And here, if they are not having an internet, they simply cannot earn their livelihood. So, therefore, the internet closure is having far reaching implications. Moreover, guys, onto other fronts also, there has been seen that now many of the health services are also tagged with the good internet connectivity, the telecommunication, telemedicine which has come. So there also, the not having an internet will be having the large number of implications. Guys, it has been said that in India, the internet suspension is lying into a very vague kind of territory. Under Article number 19, there are the reasonable restrictions which has to be carried. But what could be the reasonable restrictions, and reasonable restrictions on internet could be there or not? It has not been provided it in very clarity. So therefore, there are large number of challenges. Now, guys, it has been provided into the article that internet ban should be the last resort and should only be enforced when there is no other possibility. But such kind of thing doesn't happen into country. It has been said that rather than suspending the internet, we need to upgrade our cyber divisions as well as into the law enforcement agencies. Such capabilities are needed to be developed that they can use the new age innovative system to curb the abuses of the free speech. There are many of the technologies which can be used. It includes the mass surveillance system, communication interceptors. Though they are having their own ethical dilemmas, they are having their own challenges, but guys, still we need to work onto them, that how we can reform them so that they are not ethically problematic, and at the same time, without suspending the internet, we can curtail the law and order problem. Right now, guys, it has been said that we are going under the globalization where digitization, connectivity has become a condition for the life, and therefore they are shutting the internet brings a large number of challenges. So, guys, this is all which has been carried into this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see one more hidden cost of COVID-19 pandemic that is coming to a realization. Guys, it has been seen that into the Kerala, more number of people have died into the home in 2020. Here you can see this particular graph, which is comparing the proportion of deaths which were carried outside the hospital, and this blue bar, or that is the bar of 2020, is highest. So basically, it is being provided that because of the COVID-19 pandemic was going on, people were deciding to stay inside the home, and into that capacity, many of the people suffering from the chronic kidney disease, liver disease, cardiovascular disease, they did not visited the hospital, and because of non-availability of such medical intervention, they died into the home. And it has also been provided that not only people were not visiting the hospital, rather, guys, the hospitals were either converted into the COVID-19 facilities, or even the movement was curtailed. So this is another cost of the COVID-19 which is coming. So, guys, you don't need to remember the numbers and all such kind of things, just rather one particular dimension or the health aspect of the COVID-19 you can provide it here. So that is all about this particular article, guys, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, here this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and you can use it as an example or the case study that how now government is recognizing the importance of the mental health. See, as the COVID-19 started, there was a huge mental stress and anxiety that developed into the people with respect to because of the uncertain future, uncertainty of jobs, education, and all such kind of things. Into this particular aftermath, the Kiran service was started by the Social Justice and Empowerment Ministry. Here, the call centers were established where people can call and can put forward their mental disorders as well as anxieties. And guys, it has been said that now more and more number of men are accessing these mental health helpline. More than 70% of the people who called, they were the male, and basically these are the nature of distress which were reported by the different people. Now, guys, you don't need to remember any such kind of data. Rather, when we are talking about the mental health, we always say that the government doesn't recognizes that particular thing, but now slowly and slowly the change is coming, and you can give the example of the Kiran service that is being taken up by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. And when we talk about the range of services, then, guys, it is a 24/7 helpline which offers early screening, psychological first aid, psychological support, distress management, mental well-being, psychological crisis management service, as well as it also issues referrals to the mental health experts, and it is operated by more than 80 frontline professionals, as well as there are also volunteer psychiatrists, clinical and rehabilitation psychologists who are working here. So, guys, that is all about this particular article. Please do utilize it as an example. So, friends, that is all for the today's newspaper analysis. I hope that you have understood it. Thank you so much.